Hey everyone, Cole here with Classic Windy DIY, and welcome to the next episode of the early 998. On today's episode, we're going to get the rest of the shift linkage out, and then we're also going to get the main shaft disassembled, so stay tuned. Okay, so like I said, we're gonna get the rest of the shift linkage out of this remote gearbox here. Also, I'm gonna get the main shaft disassembled. But before we get started, one thing I wanna mention is that all of these gears, all the stuff that's coming out of this 3Synchro box, as well as lots of used parts are gonna be hitting my eBay store very, very soon. And if you guys need some parts and you really wanna help support the channel, because getting this stuff and repairing it for the channel turns out it's quite expensive, you can head over to the link that's popping up along the bottom of the screen. This is also in my description. You can bid and try and win some of this stuff. None of the parts that I'm gonna be putting on my eBay store will have a reserve, and I'm gonna start them really low because the goal here is to help get those parts out to people who need them. I'm not really trying to just, churn a huge profit here. I want money, obviously, to go back into this channel so I can buy more engines and do more cool stuff for you guys. But I'm not trying to gouge anybody. In fact, I really would like to just help some people out. So check that out, bid on some stuff, support the channel. And if you don't really need any parts, but you still want to support the channel, head over to my Patreon. This is a way for you to pledge a monthly amount of any value. It doesn't really matter if it's $1 or more than that. All of it goes back into the channel to help buy filming equipment, engines, stuff to do on the channel for you guys. So if you think that that's something you might want to do, there are some really cool perks for people who sign up and support the channel in that way. So now, like I said before, this is probably going to be kind of a short episode because I really only have to get the shift linkage out of this and then disassemble the rest of the main shaft. What I did find out is that these gears are actually the close ratio Cooper gears, which is super cool. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be using those gears or this case for this build. If you haven't seen, the last episode explains why I'm doing that and kind of goes into the whole process that ultimately made me arrive at the I'm not going to use this stuff conclusion. So that should have popped up in the corner there for you to check out. But let's go over here, let's dive in and start taking some stuff apart. Now, first up, what do we have left here? Well, the main shaft came out. All the other ancillary stuff came out as well. The reverse gear, really all that we're left with is our shift linkage here. And the shift linkage on this is a little bit different than it is on the rod change. As you can see, the little forks are all over here in order. And these get moved in and out. Let's see if I can do this by hand now that everything's out. No. These move in and out to select your gears in one direction or the other. So you can see popping out, one direction. All right, and when they're all lined up like that in kind of the middle there, that is effectively neutral. And obviously there's no gears in here, so kind of everything is neutral, I guess. These have little locking mechanisms that are clamping down on these shafts down here. Now, I think the first one we need to take off is this one right down here, and this is your shift linkage for your reverse gear. I think that if we undo that one, it's gonna allow this shift fork right here to kind of rotate a little bit more forward, and it'll allow us to loosen that one up. I've never done this before, so I'm kind of learning as I go here. There's only so much I can do to really mess this up at this point, so hopefully I can get this out without, damaging anything. All right, so first off, there's a small lock nut on there that needs to get unlocked. And now we should be able to loosen up the bolt itself. And once that bolt comes out, I'm pretty sure that you can drift the whole shaft out this direction. I'm gonna give it a shot, see what happens. That might be wrong, we'll find out. All right, so I've got this shaft out. That is where the screw itself went in, and then I think there's some kind of detent springs or something in this other side of the case. I have no idea how to get those in and out. I'm assuming that they're just in there. Now, once you've gotten that shaft out, you should be able to get the actual selector piece out, and you can see this grabs one of the lower bars, and then that's where that screw went in. So you're gonna wanna keep all this stuff. This is all very, probably very difficult to find at this point. So now I'm pretty sure that we can get to the bolt that's on the back of the shift selector fork a lot easier because this can kind of roll forward a little bit. So let's rotate this and I'll show you. So now you can see right in here, they have a similar style bolt and locking nut. We're gonna go ahead and loosen those up. I can't hold this and show it to you at the same time, so I'm gonna get this undone and then I'll show you how to get the shaft out the same way we got the other one out. All right, so there we have our special bolt with its washer. Go set that off to the side. Don't want to lose these. And that appears to be the exact same size as the one that came out of the reverse gear. And so now this shift selector fork is like free on the shaft. It can kind of move around without any fuss. And we should be able to pull this shaft out as well, using the same method of like kind of drifting it out and then pulling it the rest of the way. Shaft out with the gear selector fork. So these have a tendency to actually wear. I think that they're made out of brass and they tend to like separate, and you can get kind of sloppy gear selections if these start to kind of widen and warp. All right, so this last one is a little bit harder to get out. Basically, you have to loosen up the lock nut and then the bolt on the back of the shift fork before sliding this whole shaft out, because this is not gonna clear your pivot shaft right here for your reverse gear. So basically, I think I need to get in here with a wrench, a small wrench, loosen up this lock nut, and then with that loosened up, I think now I come in with my other wrench and I actually pull that bolt out. I'd love to get some feedback from somebody on this one if this is the right way to do this, because it feels like it's not. All right, so with that bolt out, you should be able to drift this actually out of the case now. All right, and our final fork and shaft is out. Go ahead and set these aside. Now, one thing I do want to show you guys, the way that these shafts work is they have kind of like a ball and then detent spring type system, as best I can tell in there. And basically when the shaft moves in one direction or the other, the ball gets pressed in and then locks back into place in any of these little tabs here. So that's kind of how it holds itself in place so that it doesn't go sliding around. It doesn't, you know, hold it in gear. So the last thing we have is to take off the little circlip on the gear selector down there, which should be pretty easy with the circlip tools. All right, and with the circlip off, you can take your little gear lever here off, and that is it. Now we have a fully stripped gearbox, and this is ready to go to somebody else, and hopefully somebody who can restore the lip on the back of this diff cover here and get this working again. So let's jump over to the main shaft and we'll finish taking that apart, and then we'll be all done with this gearbox. Now, if you saw my rod change gearbox video, you might have an idea of how this comes apart. Now, this little ring right here, the one with the dot in it, this is what holds this whole gear on, and the ring itself is held on by a little detent spring. Now, this is largely the same no matter what kind of gearbox you have, but the spring itself and the little detent thingy, I don't really know what to call it, is right here. That little detent needs to get pushed inwards towards the actual gear, and then this right here is going to be able to rotate. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm probably going to block it while I'm doing this, unfortunately. So basically I kind of wedged that down in there so that I can rotate this whole ring using this little circle, this little hole here. And it might not work because this flathead screwdriver is a little too big. Oh, dang it. All right, so the key here is to get these little grooves right here lined up with the actual openings on this gear. It can actually be kind of hard because what'll happen is as you pull it around, the whole thing will want to slide past it and then go and lock itself back into place. So I think I've got these pretty well where I want them. Just about, so there we go. That's what I was talking about. It just kind of like popped itself, locked itself back into place, which if you think about it is actually kind of a good thing because you don't want this coming loose while you're, driving or something like that. But when you're trying to take it apart, it can be kind of a pain in the butt. All right, we've got this lined up again. Let's see if I can get this off. There we go. And so now that is come loose. Now, one important thing to, take your time with this is that you don't want the actual detent ball to pop out. So you can actually see this is the detent, little hook thing. That's gonna have to kind of come out of the way when we take this off. And now this is an old style roller system. As you can see here, it has a whole bunch of independent rollers. Now these are things that you don't want to lose. So my tip is to just take these off and put them directly into a little baggie right off of your main shaft here. Now this is something that's different than your rod change gearbox, because the rod change gearbox, if I remember correctly, just has a roller bearing there or just a speed journal. I actually can't really remember. So I'm also gonna take the spring out, and that's all gonna go in my little baggie. Now that side is disassembled. We're gonna flip this over here, and you're basically gonna do the exact same thing here. There's another one of those little detent springs. The only difference with this one is that there is one on both sides, so it gets a little bit more tricky for this one. All right, so that is lined up, and now we should be able to push this one up as well. Pull that one up and off and over. And so you can actually see the detent there. That actually goes through and pops out the other side as well. When you're taking this off, you're probably gonna have to push those in. Now this is something I've not seen before. I guess these are like some sort of little retainer for these roller bearings. I guess this is also something that I'll wanna keep, and then we'll rotate the other one around. It's actually preventing the gear from going off, so I'm assuming these have to come out before the gear comes out. All right. Gears off, and as you can see, all of the independent roller bearings. Now before I get all these mixed up, let's compare the side. Oh no, oh no. Well, we had a bit of a catastrophe and we lost a few of those, so sorry to whoever is getting this. You're gonna probably be missing one or two of these little roller bearings. So there we have it, a completely disassembled main shaft for a 3 synchro box. And you can actually see here, there's no speed journal on this one, which is something that was on your rod change box. But other than that, everything looks to be in pretty good shape. So this is gonna go in the box. All right, so that's pretty much it for this episode. You know, we got the shift linkage out, we got the main shaft disassembled. Now heads up to anybody who's interested in buying these, you know, this gear set. I think what I'm actually gonna do is sell the whole main shaft, the shift linkage, and the differential all together as one kit. So what that means is it should be a complete set for you in the event that you have a 3 synchro box and you're looking for this early Cooper set. You know, I was thinking that I might separate things and sell it independently, but I think it's better if it all goes as one solid kit. So in case you're curious, the stampings on all these gears are gonna be listed right along the side here. And if it's something that you want, head over to eBay and bid on it. But like I said, if you wanna help support the channel, patreon.com, very good way to support it, and you get some cool perks. And in the next episode, we will get back into the rod change gearbox until the new 4 synchro case comes from Crafted Classics and gets here, and I can start putting that back together with a new 4 synchro gear set. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have any questions or feedback on, you know, the way I took this apart, let me know, because I've not actually done that portion of a gearbox build before, so it's all kind of new to me. But thanks so much for watching, and until the next episode, enjoy those minis and motor on.